All right, YouTube, it's a new day. And yesterday I was out at Pine Coulee Reservoir and I had several issues with my exhaust popping off. And the time before that I was at Twin Valley and I was having some tuning issues. The X2 is only running on one cylinder at idle and it doesn't seem to respond properly to carburetor adjustments. So I'm thinking about doing a live stream. I know a lot of this won't be very interesting, but if somebody wants to watch, they can watch. I'm gonna get to it and pop the engine out. I need to replace motor mounts, repair the exhaust, and try to figure out why it's acting up. If I can find something sort of definitive, I think I might actually remove the base gasket in order to change my timing a bit more and bump the compression up a little more. First thing I gotta do is get this crazy surf brace out of the way, which I wouldn't have to do if I didn't build a crazy surf brace. See how difficult this is to take off. I think it's actually going to be pretty easy because I don't need to remove these clamps here. It's one thing that the cross member that I built, or the relay bracket, I guess if you want to call it that, one thing that it does is it stops the surf braces from turning, which is how they're adjusted. So right now they're actually in tension a little, compression. They're in compression a little bit. They're pushing on the hull. So I'm actually gonna remove these just to make my life a little easier. Periodically I'm gonna have to leave and check on my cat. I don't think anybody's actually watching now, but if you tune into the live stream and I'm gone, it's probably because I'm untangling my cat from something. All right, I need to remove tension on this just by giving it a little turn. And boom. This is my first time removing this to actually do some service work, so I'm just learning. I'm learning as you guys are. All right, so now I've got that. I can unscrew this left-hand thread. My plan was all along to make these big enough so that I could put a layer of electric tape, black tape underneath. You know how it is when you rush to get something done so you can go ride. Like, there will be one person who's trying to have a serious conversation and the other one will be trying to sell me like male enhancement products or something. I don't know how much extra time that added. I'm 5 minutes in, so I guess it added 5 minutes. I am going to disconnect the battery before I forget and short something out. Apparently my battery, yeah, what do you call it? Place where your battery sits. One of the bolts got ripped out. I saved some brass inserts that I can use for my, yeah, I can use these to hold my battery down. So I'll basically drill the hole out a little bigger and then epoxy that in. My strap did fail on me once. I had to replace the, well, it didn't fail as in break, but it stretched enough that it let go when I was hitting wakes, I suppose. So what I did is I cut about an inch of the strap off and rivet it back on, and presto. When you start working on a project and you have every single tool in your shop out, I remember from last time, it's a good idea to remove this, I don't know, whatever it is, timing plug from the stator. And then, boom, the gas tank comes out. Now, when I'm trying to put this back in, if it goes back in that easy, I will be mind blown. Because last time, I think it took me like 15 minutes to get the stupid thing back in there. 14. I'm imagining Hi-Yu is sitting at work now at his desk in an office or a cubicle somewhere, and he's watching this video. He was browsing through YouTube trying to find something interesting. Couldn't find anything interesting. He's already watched all of the channels that he normally watches, and now he came across, oh, Joel Arsenault is making a live stream about his X2. And now he started watching me. He fell asleep in his cubicle at work, and now he's having a meeting with his boss, who found him sleeping at his desk. Oh, I have another broken motor mount at this back corner. 750 SX triple swap. Wow, you got bigger balls than me. I'm assuming if you watch my videos, you watch the Jet Ski Brothers. That would be something similar to the Sea Rat. An 1100 triple. All right, let's see if I can do this without hurting myself. If you're aware that I have an electric hoist in my attic, you're probably screaming at your screen right now saying, "You idiot." So yeah, I'm gonna pull the intake manifold off and check out the reed valves. I'm most curious about what they're gonna look like. I'm currently live streaming. I got Hi You on, commenting all sorts of supportive comments, telling me to be myself. And so, yeah, I'm gonna pull the intake off. I'm gonna move you guys over there with him so that you both get the same view. There was actually a milky, oily substance in the carburetor that I assume was fuel, oil, and water. And that's part of the reason why I think that the reeds might have been backflowing or not sealing properly. But I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to pull this off and there's going to be absolutely nothing wrong in here. Oh! Oh! Brand new Carbon Tech reeds, and I still have the stoppers on them. They're all delaminating along the tips. I would have liked to have been wrong about the reeds because these cost me about, I think, $140 by the time I had them shipped to Canada. That also means that I have little pieces of resin that blew through my engine. Oh my God! Well, there's your problem. Yeah, that'll do it. All right, YouTube, it is the next day. I'm all done with the live stream, and I found out that YouTube automatically uploads your live stream even if you just close out of the page. The good news is that I did find a problem as to why it wouldn't be idling properly and why I lost some performance, especially down low. I didn't mention it on camera while I was riding it, but the throttle seemed to be very peaky again. The power band was very abrupt. It always has been a little bit, but it was quite intense the other day when I was riding it. So, the reed valve, this one very obviously is wrecked, but the tip of this one, and this one are also damaged bad enough to affect performance. I had made the assumption that it was something that I did, that this was my fault. I very rarely blame a part for failure. The closer I look at it, the more it looks like it's a resin issue in the carbon fiber. I noticed a little bit of pitting in it before, but I didn't really think too much of it because they're brand new reeds and I assumed that they would be okay. All right, YouTube, I'm not sure of the exact terminology, so I'll try to explain it as best as I can. But when you're laying up carbon fiber or fiberglass, you have a cloth fiber material. You have a cloth and you have a resin. The resin is generally an epoxy. And so basically, in order to make a good, accurate, strong piece, you need the correct amount of resin. So you don't want it to be too resin rich or too resin lean. In this case, I think what happened is it was actually a little resin lean. When I look at the surface of the reed here, I can actually see little voids or divots where there isn't enough epoxy or resin in the material. And it's even more so noticeable in the ones that are damaged. They're all damaged a little bit, but this one, I don't know. It'd be really nice if the camera could pick that up, but again, I will try to get a photo with my phone. But you can see this completely delaminated and came apart. So I sent WSM a message asking them about warranty, but I think before that happens, I'm going to try to get replacements through SBT, just the regular cheap ones, and then if they send me another set of these, we'll see if they have the same appearance to them or if they're better. So I want to set it up for a single cooling line going into the manifold, and the piddly little cooling lines that they use, it's no wonder they have to run two of them, even though I think you could get away with one. I'm going to drill it out and install this. Man, that's some poor casting. It's considerably later in the day since I recorded the last clip. I've got the plugs installed in the exhaust as well as the barb fitting. I bought myself some ball valves with barbed fittings, and I'm not going to use these handles because I don't want this to get bumped and potentially change my adjustment or cause a problem. Not sure where I'm going to install these yet. I have a couple of different ideas, but I still have to make a base gasket and get that installed. So for base gasket material this time, I've got the flaky cakes. This is a little bit thinner than the Kirkland pizza box or the Costco pizza box that I used last time. So it's gonna bump up my compression just a little bit more. When I took the engine apart, I noticed that there was a weird anomaly on the piston here. I'm now getting ready to put it back together, and I see that the anomaly is actually from a little bit of detonation. I was running right on the verge of blowing my engine up. I had a look in the cylinder as well, and I can see the same markings around the outside of the squish. So, around the outside edges, especially on the left-hand side, there are some kind of funny markings. This mark, and this kind of rough edge along here. And especially there, this was getting really close. Basically, the piston was eroding away through this area, which is weird because this is the intake side. Normally that would happen right here on the exhaust side. I'm bumping up the compression a little bit. It's probably not very advisable right now. I'm going to do something that is a little bit unconventional. By a little bit unconventional, I mean that I've never seen anybody do it before, except for myself. I've got my old piston that I kept specifically for this reason. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of lapping compound on it. For now, just around the edges in the squish area. and I'm going to use it to do two things. First, I'm going to use it to check and see if my squish is even. This squish has been recut. Somebody CC'd the heads, it looks like. And I'm kind of curious as to how far they went with it. And also, I don't think they did it properly. I don't think they cut the angle right. I think maybe it's slightly tapered in the wrong direction. So around the very outside edge, I think there's actually a little bit more squish than there is near the center. So if anything, it should be tapered in towards the combustion chamber or in towards the center of the bore. And this one, I think, is actually tapered slightly in the other direction. So I'm going to use this to try to determine that. So if you have a look in there, I've basically confirmed what I was worried about. Basically on the intake side, right where the problem is, you can see there's a space where there's no contact being made. So along the lower edge, right along here, there's actually a bit of a void. What that means is that there's actually extra gap along that space, and you don't want that in your squish band. The idea of the squish area is that it pushes all of the fuel and air into the combustion chamber. So as the piston comes up, all of the fuel and air that is in the area around the combustion chamber should get pushed into the center. And basically what's happening on this engine is the fuel and air is getting pushed into the center, but because there's a void around the outside, some of it's being trapped there. It's actually getting pressurized enough so that it's detonating. So the fuel and air is detonating in the corner here instead of just starting at the center and working its way out. So I need to take care of that, and I need to check the other cylinder and see if it's doing the same thing. I've got it all cleaned up now. I used the same piston to do both squishes, which I probably shouldn't have done. Arguably, I shouldn't have done this at all. I should have either bought a new head or had this head machined by a competent machinist. My lathe isn't big enough to turn this head, and I'm not even sure exactly how I would go about doing this in a mill. I used my method and it turned out fairly well. You can't really tell except that there are fairly consistent marks all the way out to the outer edge, and before there was not. I'm going to pop the cylinder back on now. Alright YouTube, I don't remember where I left off last. I was working on either a pump bracket or doing something with my engine, and I found out that my reeds were broken. I did a whole bunch of stuff off camera because this is September long weekend and we are going camping. We are camping. So I had to get the jet ski ready quickly so that I could take it with me, and I ended up installing new reed valves, installing a bracket for my bilge pump, and also I revamped my cooling system. In an upcoming video I will be testing the X2, but that's gonna have to wait for another video because this one's getting a little bit long. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.